Every year, I like to end Toycember on one big review, something with a lot of sentimental value to me, and something that takes a lot longer than all the others to cover. Well, the idea I had this year is actually going to take 3 bigger reviews than usual, because we're going to review the very first combiner team I was ever able to buy myself. And it starts with the aerial members of the team. This is Ro-Tor, because that's the best name we had left for a helicopter. It's the only member of the team I had experience with since I had a G2 Vortex as a kid. It's a dark blue attack helicopter with red parts and paint adding color. Looks like a Cobra vehicle. The molding is pretty simple. You can see some panel lining across the surface, but that's really about it. These were the Scout class figures of the 80s, so we're lucky it has landing gear with working wheels molded in. Speaking of working parts, the blades are all pinned in to allow them to spin, which in a G1 toy does count as a gimmick. Though for real features, there are a bunch of added weapons that can plug on, including his robot mode gun in front that makes clever use of a gap from transformation. To transform, rotate the piece on top, extend and flip the front forward, then split the tail and rotate the arms down. Flipping the tail fins over finishes it off. The robot mode shows off some detail hidden on the vehicle mode's underside, introducing orange to the design. I like the attempt to give him a distinct midsection with the paint job. Head design on combiner toys in G1 were pretty simple, and Vortex has a pretty generic box head with visor and mouthplate going on. Not a whole lot to say, really. He's got 2 points of articulation, but to his credit, they're universal shoulders. Weird for a G1 mold. The weapons can still mount to him, with the cannon sticking to the arms and the forward gun now on his hand, which kinda just sticks to the side of his arm. He has no real hands, just the outline of hands molded to the inside of his arms, so I guess this was the best they could do? Also worth noting, if you don't want it there, the rotator blade is completely removable, so you can clean up the toy a little bit. Up next, the one that always makes you scratch your head when you start thinking about the scale of these combiner teams. The Space Shuttle. This is Movor, which ranks up there with Prowl 2 in the realm of creative names. Vehicles move, call it Movor. At least he's more realistic in coloring than Blastoff was, with off-white plastic and brown airbrushing that I assume are re-entry burns, even though space shuttles don't re-enter in that direction. The sculpting here is even lighter than Ro-Tor, with little panel sculpting. Only major details are included, though the wings are doing better and even get a good bit of white paint. Again, you get landing gear with rolling wheels, but no retracting them, and the rear has the engines molded in. For added firepower, Movor has twin cannons that plug into 2 of the rear thrusters and hang out over the wings. All of the Combaticons had things like this, but strangely enough, Movor is the only one with a gun left over. There's nowhere to mount the robot mode's handgun that actually works for an added weapon. That aside, transformation's pretty similar to Ro-Tor. In fact, the arms transform exactly the same, but with the front rather than the rear. At least the nose cone rotates into a pair of actual hands for this one, though. In robot mode, Movor pretty much shows the same style of robot. Small head, big arms, and gee, I wonder why Combiner Wars feels repetitive at times. The head is at least more interestingly detailed, with a bit more molding and distinct eyes rather than a visor. Again, orange adds color to the robot mode, with the midsection in black to split the chest and pelvis. For articulation, the same universal shoulders, but from transformation his hands can also rotate at the wrists, so 4 points on him. And hey, now he can hold all of his guns, leg-mounted cannons and his handgun. I think he carries this better than Ro-Tor, with the more solid spots for his cannons and an actual hand for his gun. The two feel very similar to each other, sharing transformation elements and body shape, even having a preference for side-mounted twin cannons. In a sense, that works for being the aerial members of the team, but it does seem like most flying combiner limbs kinda start feeling familiar. For their time, these weren't bad little toys, and amongst the RID basic class, which were mostly 2 packs of spy changers, the solid build and combining gimmick actually gave them an edge up in the price point, so not too misplaced really. But that's the aerial members. When we open tomorrow's present, we're going to see how the land members did.